Hey everybody, Dalek44 bringing you another commentary for the Sekiko 5th anniversary special, The Race of the Century. And this was also my 250th video anniversary as well, so it was basically two celebrations in one. Yeah, massive occasion for my channel back then, yeah. And I'm still quite proud of this little Sekiko 5th anniversary intro I did, showing all the major characters that have been in Sekiko at that point. So we have all the characters that made an appearance in Sekiko episodes in the past. Just thought that would be a nice little touch to start the celebrations with. Showing every character that got a big and supporting appearance in the show so far at that point, yeah. And this intro was also very fun to work with. The opening scene with Cyber driving home from the shops gave me the opportunity to do some more of those famous cameos that I like to do in the series, like how I have a silent earlier and some Star Wars droids. And of course the old cliche of me giving the Pink and Green Rangers cameos. And why would Emperor Palpatine want to ride on Bird to the Bus anyway? I don't know. Running over Pepper from Lego Island. And just so everyone's aware, I don't have a hatred for the Lego Island games. I actually love Lego Island 2, The Brister's Revenge, and I have a soft spot for Lego Island Extreme Stunts. But I just saw Pepper as a bit of an easy target at the time. I was just thinking of some characters who might be careless enough to get hit by a car or van if they're riding on a skateboard, and Pepper was just the first character that came to my mind. Oh yeah, the old-fashioned Sekiko flat background when it was just one whole sheet of paper. Not very convincing back then, was it? That was years before I converted to the cardboard bots backdrop. And I'm very proud of the cardboards backdrop that I use now and then for the series. I'm very proud of that I use now. And for those who have no idea what the hell this is meant to be, this is a Family Guy reference from the DVD film Stewie Griffin The Untold Story, where they're advertising the National Diabetes Association, and in the original episode and movie they use Wilford Brimley to demonstrate the effects of diabetes. And I just randomly had the idea to use a Sontaran to do it, since this was back in the day where I liked to give some of my character options Doctor Who action figures cameos, as well as the main characters from the character options Time Squad figures. You know, just giving random Doctor Who characters these random cameos and giving them these random roles in it, like the Sontaran advertising diabetes. Yeah, if it ain't obvious to everybody by this point, I love Family Guy and Doctor Who. So it was just a mad way to combine those two shows into one. And just using the Sontaran to do it out of randomness. And it actually took me quite a while, if I remember rightly, to come up with the plot for this special. Like, what kind of big adventure could Sex, Cyber and Slovene get up to in their 5th anniversary special? And then it hit me, why not have a big race? Because I love wacky races. I used to watch wacky races growing up as a kid. So I just thought, why not have a crazy race for them to go on? And this intro bit where Sex riding to the whole event on top of the van's roof is a nod to the Doctor Who 50th anniversary special, The Day of the Doctor, where the TARDIS gets picked up by a Unit HQ helicopter and the Doctor ends up hanging onto the bottom of it while in mid-air. And I just decided, why not have Sekiko do something similar with this, but ride on the roof of the van. Yes, it was quite another fun sequence for me to work on. And the repeated background is another cliche that I do in all my animated videos, which is, of course, based on the old-fashioned cliche from Hanna-Barbera cartoons from the Golden Era, where you'd have the same background repeatedly appearing behind the characters if they're walking, running, or driving. Yes. Yeah, I just love the whole thing where they repeat the backdrops in every scene. And it was no exception for me to do it here since of my love Hanna-Barbera a lot. I have a huge love for the classic Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
Selling lemonade in between the lips.
That face still cracks me up. Yeah, Wesley Honey, a character who hasn't had a big role in Second Code for years. And Husky Fan 41 does a fantastic job bringing the character to life. His Boise impression is just so good. I really enjoy listening to it every time he records his lines. It's just such a delight to listen to. And the rivalry that he and Sek have with each other, because Honey is wealthy and Sek's not as successful. Yeah, it's just for fun, like a fun reference to the like-hate relationship that Del Boy and Boise had in Only Fools and Horses. And it made sense for this, because Wesley Honey is a parody of Boise from Only Fools and Horses. I may have mentioned this before, but he's like a mixture of Boise in terms of his personality and Captain Darling from Blackadder in terms of his last name, just being named Honey. And it was actually Husky Fan 41 who came up with the first name, if I remember rightly. I already had the surname Honey up as like this embarrassing name that he could have that sounds so degrading every time somebody calls him by his last name when he prefers to be addressed by as his first name. And I just thought Honey, because Darling's already taken. And of course it wouldn't be a Second Code 5th anniversary special if the Chief Robber and his henchmen weren't a part of it either. Yeah, they had to be a part of it because they're practically the main villains of the series. Yeah, they're the main villains of the series, obviously based off of the Chief Weasel and the henchmen from Cosgrove Hall's version of The Wind in the Willows. And I've always found it fun to do Sir David Jason's Chief Weasel voice every time he appears in this series. Because he did this nasty, gruff-like voice for the Chief Weasel, like gruff Cockney accent. And the henchman is a dim-witted northerner. And I wanted to incorporate that in both of these characters when I first created them all those years ago. And the funny thing was, I already used my Chief Robber voice for Ari for my TTT series, you know, Ari and Bert. I just ended up using that voice for Ari and then used it again for the Chief Robber. And I've actually got an idea for a future video I may work on. Like, I'm hoping to do a Family Guy related scene where they talk about Dr. Hartman and Mr. Pewterschmidt's voice is sounding very similar because of them being voiced by the same actor, Seth MacFarlane. And I'm hoping to one day do a random scene where the Chief Robber and Ari from Thomas the Tank Engine meet up with each other and then discuss how similar the voices are. Like, at first not hearing it and then detecting it sometime down the line while they're in mid-conversation. Refreshing. Sorry, it's so hot today, I have to stay hydrated. And all these years later, I'm still not very proud of the blurry camera work here. This was done with my really, really old camera that I used to use for making videos back in the day. And looking back at it, it honestly wasn't the best camera for me to use for this sort of video, because for some reason it would focus on the backgrounds and not completely focus on the characters when I was doing up-close moments. And I tried many times, but I could never suss out how to fix the problem. So every time the characters were in the foregrounds, they'd look blurry and the backgrounds would be in focus, and I never really understood why. I could never get the camera to work exactly the way I wanted it, and it drove me nuts back then. But with the new camera I have, I don't really have that problem anymore. It focuses perfectly on what's in the foreground. And yeah, so not exactly my best camera works back then, but you live and learn. And that's another running gag I did for Second Co with the Chief Robber. Whenever he loses his hat or has to put it back on if it's fallen off, he'll use his hook to pick it up. Like making good use of his hook, aside from punishing the henchman when he pisses him off. Just using his hook to pick up his hat if he drops it. Yeah, you'd think the police officer would be more concerned about the robbery of his motorbike and having to report it, but he's more concerned with the fact that that bike's new and he only got it the day before. That's his biggest concern. Yeah, a lot of the police officers in my world are idiots and not 100% focused on their jobs. And we get the introduction of good old Richard Evans, the Troy McClure of the Second Co universe. And his voice actor, Traymaster A9, was my first choice for him, because I'd heard his voice many times before in other projects, and I just listened to his voice while thinking of the character, and I thought, that's Richard Evans. That's the guy who has to voice Richard Evans. That's his voice. And I really do enjoy his performance as Richard Evans, just being really excited to be there and announce these things. Oh, and here comes Dick Dastardly, the real main villain of the special. Yeah, at this point, Dastardly hadn't been seen since the Jungle special, where Sekiko meet Pingy, the Jungle Girl. And I actually do make a reference to that in the video, where Dastardly says to Sek, like, you didn't think I was going to stay locked in that temple forever? And Sek's like, well, it would have been nice if you waited till the 10th anniversary. And he actually did appear in the 10th anniversary as well, if everybody remembers. But when I was writing this special, I felt that the 5th anniversary was the right time to bring Dick Dastardly and Muttley back, since they were such great villains, I feel, in the Jungle special. I just had a lot of fun working these characters into the Second Co universe, and I felt the 5th anniversary was the right moment to bring them back. Just mainly using them for special occasions, like some specials and of course anniversary specials. I just think that adds to how special Dick Dastardly and Muttley are to me. Not have them appear in every single Second Co project, but only appearing every once in a while, just to make their appearances a lot more special.
Okay, let's get started.
Nice and cold. And that's another running gag with Second Co as well, with Slovene always having to jump into the boot to be able to ride into the van, because there's only 2 seats at the front. And it's also because I don't have a character building scale Ratsakolka Falabatorian / Slovene figure, because they never made ones for character building. So I have to have Slovene ride in the back of the van, just to hide the fact that they never made smaller scale Slovene characters from toy character options. And I only use the character building Dalek and Cyberman for the scenes when they have to drive the van. And after this video, I did do some occasions where I do close-ups of the inside of the van, like what you saw in the intro with Cyber shaking his head about Sek riding on the roof of the van. I'd have to take some parts of the van apart and then put them in front of the characters to create the illusion that we're getting a close-up of the inside of the van. A random Dalek in a nude making an appearance. I love my cameos.
Second car in last place.
Place your bets, place your bets. Come on now, place your bets. Bet on which
Oh, and
team
there's
will win the
Lionel
challenge of
Mutz.
the year.
He had to be in
Winners
this
get double
special
what they bet.
somehow as
Losers,
well.
well, let's
And
just
because
say
he's
they
a
end up with
sleazy
less money
businessman
than
in
they
the
had.
Second Co-universe, like Lionel Hutz from The Simpsons, I thought it'd be fitting if he show up to
Well,
try and
things
sell
seem to be going
some
well.
bets,
Other
like
than me first
getting people
article.
to place their
Darling
bets
kissed me
on who
behind
they
me.
think's going to win the
Big eyes
race.
full of
And
petrol.
of course
What could
he'd
possibly
charge
go
ridiculously high prices for the tickets, because that's just the sort of person he is. And I should probably talk about the controls inside Dick Dastity's train. That's an old speaker system that I used for my old MP3 player that I used to have in the early 2000s. I would connect it to that and play music from it. And out of nowhere, during the production of the Jungle Special, I just decided that would be the perfect control console for the train.
Going to need to be really fast.
And for the red lighting, I got half of my 3D glasses that I got free from one of the old Doctor Who Adventures magazines. Held it in front of the torch and just shone it in there like sort of the illusion like that's the glow from the fire of the train, because as you've seen from the funnel, fire comes out of the train, so it's like the illusion that the fire in the train's firebox glows inside the cab. Oh, and the closed sign for Bubs' concession stand. I don't know, I don't remember correctly, but I think this is the only time I've used that closed sign so far. And I'm definitely hoping to use it again in the future. Like, give some reasons for Bubs to close his concession stand. And of course it made sense for it to be closed in this one because Bubs is taking part in the race. And Bubs doesn't usually hire anybody else to work at his concession stand when he's away on business or wherever. Yeah. And it ain't even protected either, it's just a random concession stand with no security whatsoever.
Good job, Zach. Now get back in the back.
So you could say that Bubs is probably too tight to get high-tech security for his own concession stand. And this is the first proper trap that Dick Dastardly tries to conjure up for the special. And it's of course a reference to a Wacky Racers trap he tried, where he gets Muttley to dig a big hole in the sand for the cars to fall down and hides it under a tarpaulin and just waits for the cars to drive over it and fall in the hole, but it doesn't work, and it only works when Dastardly tries jumping on it to figure out why it didn't work. And that was always one of my favourite moments from Dick Dastardly. It's just one of the reasons I love the character so much. And looking back at it today, you'd think that if he didn't stop to cheat and just kept driving, then he might actually win a race. But because he's a villain, he has to cheat. That's like his role. As a villain, he has to cheat to win a race. And it's always fun to watch him try to win the race, but fail miserably. It's just always fun that way. Yeah, and it's funny how Bubs is the only person participating in the race who doesn't actually have a car or a motorbike. He's just using roller skates from his own concession stand. Yeah.
Stop the van, stop it right here.
And I love the work that Boris Fangirl puts into voicing Little Miss Chatterbox in the series. It's just a lot of fun to listen to her performances. Every time I get the recordings back from Blake, it's always fun to listen to before I edit it together.
Here you go, Slovene, keep it safe. Okie
And
dokie.
with the pillow going inside of the back of the van, I actually used a bit of unused tooth floss to
This plan is sure to stop this time,
make it seem like it's flying in midair.
It's full of 1,000 bucks.
It's the same technique I use for my TTT wooden railway trains. I just use a bit of unused to floss with a bit of blue tack to pull them along. And of course everybody notices it because you can't really hide floss. And of course I don't use them before I use them to pull the trains like you would normal floss.
Wait, stop here, Cyber. There's a clue.
And of course I'd have to include a "oh my god, they killed Kenny" moment because I love South Park. And Kenny getting killed in every episode was an old cliche for South Park back then, and because I have an old keychain of Kenny from South Park, I have to put cameos of him every now and then for the hell of it. Pardon me. And that minifigure is actually Skyline from the Lego Island range, and I just used her for the early design for Consuela. I've actually got a exclusive minifigure now that I made up from firestartoys.com to use for Consuela for future appearances. But that was all I had at the time, and back then I was just using whatever I could find to make new characters. So whenever you see Consuela from now on, it's going to be a completely original character, built with various parts of minifigs. Yeah, and apparently Daleks have a blinding setting on their guns. But why not? I mean, in the original Dalek story from the 1960s, they were able to just paralyze people with their guns rather than exterminate them in those days. Yeah, it's good fun. Yeah, very badly drawn skeleton for Dick Dastardly's X-Ray.
Still open for those who haven't bitted yet.
Yeah, not my
Just an
best
extra
work,
quid
I'll
to
admit, but it was fun to draw that over Dick Dastardly in the final product. It was good fun.
Another mile further without any petrol, and we'd have been stuck on the road.
And this is where we get the confrontation between Dick Dastardly, the robbers, and Second Co. And when we find out that the Chief Robber and Dastardly are actually related.
Yeah, how'd you get in first place anyway?
Yeah, that was just something I came up with at the last minute while writing this particular scene. I just thought, what if Dastardly and the Chief Robber were related in some way? Which kind of would make sense when you look at it, because both characters have evil moustaches. Yeah, I really did enjoy animating the bit where the Chief Robber falls off the bike after being hit by Second Co. I just loved that bit. It was a very fun sequence to do. Yeah, and the Chief's sarcasm as well when the henchman says something stupid.
Wait a minute. The Chief Robber is your cousin? That's right, darling.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Do you know that, Cyber?
Yeah.
No, I had no idea. Of course we're cousins, Mr. Dalek.
Yeah, it's not very often you see the Chief Robber without his hat. It's very rare that actually happens.
Now that you mention it, I do sort of see.
But when it does happen, it's always fun to see him put his hat back on using his hook rather than his hand.
Tricky, aren't you? Tricky is not the word I would use to describe myself.
Yeah, this was filler, really, wasn't it? Yeah.
He's just a crook.
A fun bit of filler. Oh, there's the hat, put it on thing, yeah. Yeah, you'd think that by this point they just get back in their vehicles and start driving again before the other races catch up, but no, they had to keep on talking and just let them pass. Like, they just let them pass by and only chose after they were in last place to start driving again. And the medal that Muttley was wearing was actually a piece from the connector that connected the old Lego gold coins from in the early 90s. I just held on to it for God knows how long and decided that'd be good for a Muttley medal. Yeah, just decided that would be good for a medal. And this is practically the halfway point of the special, where
Oh, it just needs a bit of
Sek
cleanup.
obviously begins to doubt whether they can actually win the race, and a little pep talk from Cyber gets his spirits up again, like makes him realise that they can win it, since they were the only ones who have actually been collecting the clues that have been left around the city. Because none of the other characters in the race have actually been collecting these
There we
items.
go. Now we can get
Well,
going,
except
Sek.
for Honey, who said that he found his first clue. Excuse me.
Cyber. Oh, really? How long did it take for you to figure that
And
out?
Second Co were the only ones that were actually stopping to
Oh, I suppose I
pick
better
them
see
up.
what's wrong with it.
Like, they were the only ones noticing them.
Hey, Sek,
Whereas the only reason Dastardly was stopping was so he could cheat to get his way to victory.
Not much. Well, something's up. No.
And that backdrop is another one of the old LEGO Studios backdrops from the LEGO Studios set that I had as a kid. That set came with two backdrops. One being a destroyed city, which was this one that I used for Evil Street, and the other one of a fully intact street during night, which I used for the streets of Celebrid. And I still hold on to those two. And the back of the city at night backdrop is actually, I used the back of that for the second co-flat. Like, I used to use it for the old paper backdrop for it back when I made this video. And I use a new one that goes into a hallway for the second co. Like, the cardboard cutout bit is the main living room part of the flat, and the new paper backdrop behind it is for the hallway that leads to the stairs and the front door. So yeah, I did a lot of upgrades since this video was made. Just upgraded it a lot.
You said that not everybody was stopping for the clues. I mean, yeah, they did stop for the first clue.
And this scene really shows how close Cyber and Sek are as good friends. It's been hinted at many times that they have a good friendship with each other since they were kids. And they've always got each other's backs, no matter how dire the situations are or how crazy Sek's plans are. They always stick together through thick and thin because they're the only family they've known. They consider themselves being family, since they practically grew up together.
No, I believe it is. This is the last item on the list.
So whatever the situation, the two always have each other's
Come on,
backs.
guys. Wow, Sek seems to have got his mojo.
Mojo Jojo cameo.
That's one.
Yeah, that actually came from a
Right, back in the
from a little line of bobbleheads that came in Kellogg's cereals. There was a time in the early 2000s where Kellogg's cereals were putting in various characters from Cartoon Network shows as bobbleheads. And they would usually have two characters per show, so they'd have like Dexter and Dee Dee from Dexter's Laboratory, Buttercup and Mojo Jojo from the Powerpuff Girls, Grim and Hector Concani from Grim and Evil, and so on and so forth. And I ended up getting the Mojo Jojo one and used him for cameos before I got the official LEGO minifig for Mojo. So anytime you see Mojo Jojo now in Second Co and any other stop motion videos I do, it'll always be the minifig. The great old Dot Warner's Squeeze Me Dalek infomercial. This was the first way I was able to bring Dot Warner into the special, because Dot Warner has to show up in the 5th anniversary special, since, like most of the other characters, she's a huge part of Second Co as well, since she keeps chasing Dalek Sek for his affections. And the quote, "I got you like sheep," I actually got that from Miss Sullivan Blossom, aka William Grubb, when he did his old TNF series. It was from the Halloween special where the characters are going to a graveyard and a cemetery, and they do this like paper, it's like paper drawing cutaway with James's driver trying to take, with Ted trying to take James's driver's daughter to the prom, and he goes, "You lay one finger on your daughter, I got you like sheep." And I just enjoyed that quote so much that I decided to use that for the Dalek Sek plush. Oh, and this is the final appearance of Richard Evans in the special before it ends. And him trying to get a hefty price from Darth Vader and Darth Sidious for the final bets. and they just choose not to take it because it's too much for their budget.
Let's go and enjoy the rest.
Nice. Pardon me.
Oh, well, you can't blame a guy for trying.
And this is where we get the final confrontation with Dick Dastardly and the robbers, where they end up trying to cheat their way to victory, and they try and ram each other, and of course they demolish their own vehicles. A good reminder that cheaters and bad guys don't always win. Cheating gets you nowhere. But of course they never learn their lesson because they're villains. And of course they're going to blame themselves for the mishaps. Where Dastardly would blame the chief robber for it, but in reality it was Dastardly that rammed into him first, so it was entirely his fault. But Dick Dastardly being Dick Dastardly, he'll blame someone else for his misfortunes. Oh, excuse me. And this is the villain's defeat for the special. Yep, very fitting defeat for the characters, getting their comeuppance after trying to cheat their ways to victory.
Here they come towards the finish line.
You know, I do love giving various LEGO characters cameos in my videos. And for the viewing audiences, I just picked up as many LEGO minifigures, character building figures for Doctor Who, and of course the Thomas diecast figures, and as many of the Power Rangers figures that I could, and lined them all up to gather an audience. And you'll notice behind Miss Chatterbox, I also got Feathers McGraw, because he's my favourite Wallace and Gromit villain, so naturally I'm going to give him cameos. And it's just always fun. I always find it fun to give all these characters that I own cameos throughout the videos that I make.
Like I always say, he who dares win.
It's just always fun to give all these characters cameos, creating like a all-star universe for Second Co.
Right, honey?
Like my animated universe is like an all-star universe where characters from various franchises can live in the same world
Congratulations on your...
and still be their characters behind the scenes.
You weren't so bad yourself.
Very good. Well, I'll...
And this was Honey's final scene in the special as well, where
You forgetting something?
he's very hesitant to congratulate Dalek Sec and give him his winnings for the bet they had. Because of their rivalry, Honey just can't stand to lose to Dalek Sec, since Sec doesn't really have much of a penny to his name, and Honey's got all the money he could ask for because of his successful business. And of course he's really pissed off about Dick Dastardly breaking his car slightly.
The first paint job cost me £1,000.
So he's got to
Bloody
go and get it
grand.
repaired, and
It's not like money grows on trees, you know.
yeah, it's all in good fun.
I'll make him pay. He'll pay in fivers.
Some people just can't stand the look.
And this is why I address why Pingy hasn't really had that many big roles from this point onwards. Because she used to be voiced by Chelsea from YouTube.
Well, I can't have
And she used to voice Pingy, but when she retired from voicing on YouTube, I sort of had the character on a bit of a hiatus, and just wrote in the excuse here that she needs a new voice operation, and Set's going to use the prize money for the race to pay for the operation. Which is why then later on, Pingy would then be voiced by Boris Fangirl.
To our next celeb race and search challenge. This is Richard Evans saying...
So there was a reason for Sek entering this big race to win a cash prize rather than just his own love of money. I think this is one of the few occasions where Sek does something that's not for himself.
How's dinner going, Slovene? Fine, guys. It'll be ready in about...
Because normally he'd be doing this kind of thing to benefit himself and his friends. Like try to make a quick buck. But this is one of those rare occasions where he'll do something selfless with his actions. Like actually pay for an operation that his girlfriend dearly needs. Showing everyone that he's not all selfish. Like, He doesn't completely care just about himself. He also cares for his friends as well.
Yeah, you're probably right. We'll leave it
Yeah,
another
it's...
couple of years, like-
Yeah, so I always find it nice to show that Dalek Sec does have a heart at the end of the day. Like, he may be a money-loving Dalek, but he's also got a good heart deep down. It's nice to show that. And it wouldn't be a second Co-5th anniversary special if I didn't have Dot Warner pop up and hug and kiss the real Dalek Sec. Yeah, it had to happen because who doesn't love Dot Warner harassing Sec out of nowhere?
What a cute ending.
It's just a part of her character throughout Second Co. It just wouldn't be right if she didn't pop up out of nowhere and harass Sec. Yeah, I make the excuse that she's been like that ever since the original Animaniacs ended. Like, she's been out of a job since Wacko's Wish, and she's just doing this to fill up her time.
Gary, I'll see you next week.
Oh, and the bloopers. Yeah, I had quite a few actual bloopers, like this one while I was recording and doing the filming process, where Cyber would just out of nowhere fall over. So I just decided to make some bloopers out of it. Like, some of them, like this one, are ones I improvised at the last minute, and others were legit bloopers.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just not getting...
Sometimes when I'm working with these characters, I would often have these issues where some of the models would just fall over out of nowhere when I don't really want them to fall over. I want them to stand up.
Alright, let's take a break.
And I think it's because I'm doing it on a carpet, and it's kind of hard to have the characters stand up completely while working on them on the not such a hard surface. As you'll see with this upcoming blooper, with Wesley Honey congratulating Sec on winning the race.
Oh,
Right, here we go.
hello, Sec.
That actually did happen while I was recording, while I was making this scene. It actually did happen in real life. I just decided, yeah, I'll make a blooper out of it. It'll be funny. Just make a blooper out of this happy accident that occurred while filming. And those moments of Slevine continuously putting stuff into the back of the van is of course a reference to the Toy Story 2 bloopers where Mrs. Potato Head keeps putting stuff in Mr. Potato Head for his journey. Yeah, just thought of some... I thought that was really hilarious the first time I watched it in Toy Story 2, and it, of course it would be a crime if I didn't do that for the bloopers here. Oh, and this is my very first attempt at doing an impression of the Brickster from Lego Island 2: The Brickster's Revenge. Just using a voice similar to his from Lego Island 2. And I just thought it'd be fun to include him because I actually have thoughts on him being a main villain in a future cinematic Lego movie. Like making him a big villain in the Lego movie franchise. I just think that he's such a fun villain in the Lego Island franchise that I think he'd be the perfect villain for a future installment in the Lego movie franchise when they eventually continue it. Yeah, this still makes me chuckle every time I rewatch it as well. The Slovene drawing stuff on Cyber's face bloopers. Yeah, again, this was another blooper from Toy Story 2 that made me laugh a lot each time I watch it, and it'd just be... I just decided to include it. Yeah, this Cyber for hire. Yeah, just demonstrating that Slovene can't spell, he can't write very well. He can't write very well and he can't spell anything.
Oh, yes.
And you'll probably know this already, but this bit with Thomas, Annie and Clarbo is of course based off of the Bugs Life characters that make an appearance in the Toy Story 2 bloopers. Just it's showing these characters before they film their little cameo for the special, like them talking about how they're a part of the project, and Thomas thinks it's a TTT special, and then it turns out that it's actually a Second Co special. Like, Annie and Clara were the only ones that knew the details of this scene, and Thomas had no idea about it.
Get going, Sec. And so you, Sonia, have the most beautiful scene in the song.
Yeah, I think this is really the only time that Sonia Hedgehog has been actually quite nice to and tolerant of Sec. Yeah, it sort of shows that even though Sec has an insane crush on Sonia Hedgehog in the show, that when they're behind the scenes, they're actually really friendly with each other. Like they get along really well behind the scenes, and the whole having a crush on him is just it's just for the entertainment of the fans. Yeah, it's just something fun I thought I'd do for one of the bloopers. And Sonia never did get that big part in the 10th anniversary special. Spoilers. Yeah, the Chick Chow thing was of course the reference to the Monkey Chow bit. Monkey Chow? For what? What for the monkeys, of course. And because I don't have shed loads of Lego monkey figures in my disposal, I just decided to substitute it for the Chick Chow. Since the Chick doesn't really get that many big parts in Second Co as much these days. And he didn't even get a huge part in the anniversary special. He was just there watching the race, not really contributing to it in any way, shape or form. And it's because it's at a stage where I was running out of big roles for the Chick to have. I was running out of ideas for some big roles for the Chick, and he ended up becoming more of a side character in the long run. But throughout the special, I thought it'd be fun if he'd have to put up with Little Miss Chatterbox's endless chattering throughout the race. Yeah, just a fun way to include him and have him interacting with other characters aside from Sec, Cyber and Slovene. And I really did have a lot of fun working on this special, as well as the bloopers. All coming from happy accidents that occurred while I was recording the special and putting it all together, and just decided to run with it and turn them into bloopers. And a lot of times these days you'll probably notice in later Second Co projects that when I goof on a line on several occasions, which does often happen, when I goof on a line in Second Co I usually just keep it in and just make it a part of the episode. Much like Mrs. Brown's Boys, since they keep making mistakes on set and they just leave it in the special and the episodes. They just leave it in and run with it. And later on I decided might as well do that for this series. And for those who don't know, the music playing during the end credits actually comes from Diddy Kong Racing, one of the N64's most fun games of all time. I just listened to some music from Diddy Kong Racing after having replayed it a couple of times before production of the special, and I just decided why not use a bit of their music for the end credits of the special. And as you've heard in the outtakes and the Second Co victory bit, I used a bit of music from Mario Kart 64, another one of the console's best games of all time. Since the special has the theme of racing and both video games are about racing, it just seemed appropriate to use music from both those games for this special. Policeman Officer. For those that don't know, the Policeman Officer is a reference to the movie Hot Fuzz from the Three Flavors Cornetto trilogy. When Danny refers to police officers as policemen, and Nick Angel tries to correct him by saying that it's officer, and then Danny just says policeman officer. Just a fun little nod to the Three Flavors Cornetto trilogy, one of my favourite film trilogies of all time. And a lot of the inspiration for this one also came from Wacky Races, mostly with the moments with Dick Dastardly and Muttley, and this was just a really fun project to do and one of the biggest ones I'd done to date. And it's been a real blast watching through this again and going through the commentary with you guys.